vegetables and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
For my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching, hey, 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 motivation.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, Powerhouse, intelligent and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personal insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Honey, and you was on my list. I was wondering if you was too busy. I know you've been had things going on. Welcome to Random Thoughts with DVP Gang. Today is the 20th of May, 2020. So guess what we're doing today? We're going to start a little drama because starting a little drama is what we do. So I got some dads with me. We're going to discuss this whole fatherhood thing. And you can't discuss fatherhood without discussing manhood, because I don't know. You can get the fatherhood without being a man, but you can't be a man just because you're a dad. I think that's the way it go in real life. So I got some dads. And to make everything even, I got two single dads, me and my super producer Roy. And I got two married. Actually, it's gonna be three if Ernest show up. Three unmarried dads and two married dads. My boy from 100 years ago, Mondreka, and my nephew Farod is supposed to join us. You know, his wife pregnant, so he may be in and out. But that's what we're gonna talk about. We gonna dwell. I ain't even gave them the whole subject, but we're gonna talk about this Bootsy D Wade thing and why one ain't got nothing to do with the other one. And Mondreka, you got sons, right? I know you got one son, right?
I got one boy.
All right, and I stopped counting after three. Well, you got girls.
I have two daughters and a son.
Okay, so you talking to men who got boys. So we're gonna tell you about some of that. I see Lyle is joining us. But before we get started, because I want to give everybody time, because you know how we do this, we'll give you all the DVP monologue. I've been sent a couple of videos and asked to comment on some things, and I just 10 to 15 X, and it ain't going to take that long. I want to talk about COVID-19 before we get started. And fellas, if y'all got something to say, just let Roy know, raise your hand, fart, sneeze, do something. All right, COVID-19. I know people who have died from it. I know people who have people that died from it. So whether you take it serious or not, it's real. And it's crazy how we got two factions who are operating against each other, claiming freedom. And I get you. Everybody want to claim that they walking alone, but you're a sheep no matter what you do. In this situation, either you part of the masking crew or you part of the ain't masking crew. Ain't no I don't follow no herd. You following some herd, whether you want to or not. So quit thinking that you some kind of martyr or something. But at the end of the day, when y'all post these dumb stats, and they're dumb, I can say that because Roy ain't played the disclaimer. It's when you can't compare it to DUI, you can't compare it to HIV. People got a choice of whether or not to drink and drive. People got a choice whether or not they want to do other things. You ain't got a choice about catching this. And unlike a lot of other things, even the flu and some other diseases, there are vaccines. There are clear indicators of when you got it. If y'all listen to it carefully, I know y'all think everything is a scam, because I'm sure a lot of y'all are undercover Republicans and don't know it. Some of these people who get catching it, look at these athletes. When y'all keep talking about people with weak systems, these athletes are professional athletes, so I don't know what make you think their system is weak as somebody else's. But no matter how you feel about it, the mask. Let me just break out my ethnic mask. I got 3 or 4. The mask is about not incidentally passing it on to somebody else, because you may be asymptomatic. See, when you got the flu, guess who know that you feel like shit? You do. You can have this COVID-19 and not feel bad. What you got, Drake?
Well, yeah, I wholeheartely agree. I have a specific incident. My wife is a frontline worker. She's a nurse, right? And a friend of hers at the hospital she works at said exactly the same thing you just said. Guy wanted to pick up his grandsons, and he's a grandfather, so he has a little bit of a weaker immune system, and picked up grandsons. Didn't know one side of the family were quarantining, and then the other family was a little bit more liberal with their thoughts and just being out and about a little bit more frequently. And so the grandpa ends up catching COVID from one of the grandsons who was asymptomatic, and now he's in the hospital by himself because of being, typically they're very responsible and quarantined, and they're deeply rooted in their home. But he had been missing the grandbabies and wanted to go pick one up, and just so happened that weekend found out one of them was asymptomatic, and he got caught. He's sick now. He's in the hospital and has a heart problem. So we better be as mindful and as focused as we can be on COVID, and we want to be as responsible as we can be with it too as well. So this is not a joke.
Hey,
right,
D,
and we got to stop this shitty game about whether the government is lying to us or not.
D, let me jump in real quick. D, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Fellas, y'all do me a favor. If you're not talking, mute your microphones for me. I'd appreciate that, gentlemen. But I'm sorry, D, go ahead.
But it's real, whether we want to accept it or not. If you think it's a government hoax, like I told a couple other people, if you think it's fake and it ain't happening, go volunteer. Go volunteer. Take your superhero ass on down there with your cape and go to the hospitals and volunteer some time. Life is just that simple. But don't sit back and talk about you not gonna wear a mask when you around other people. When you at home, like all of us doing, you can do whatever you want to. But once you go out and you're interacting with the public, you need to be responsible. See, and a guy said something to me. I was at Sam's the other day, and the guy was like, man, you got to take your mask off and smell it out. Bro, you don't even know if I got tuberculosis. So while you speaking ignorantly, I could be doing this to protect you. Because guess what? In reality, most people ain't going to admit they got COVID-19. If they know, because they don't want to be treated, like unicorns. I mean, everybody going to, send up their little prayers and, all this stuff. But most people are not seeking sympathy. Some people are using this to do that whole Munchausen by proxy thing. You want people to feel sorry for you. This ain't the time. Respect others. They taking away my freedom. You don't have the freedom to get somebody sick. I don't know which constitution y'all reading, but that ain't in there. So I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of hearing people post these links. Oh, more people die from this. More. The things that you posting are preventable. The only way this realistic, this ain't preventable. Even though, it's only affecting 3%. For those of y'all who had them bogus numbers, y'all see us at 3%. And we don't know. Everybody who died, they claiming COVID-19. They not. My cousin died. Guess what? It wasn't COVID-19. When Don Shula died, it wasn't COVID-19. It's been a lot of deaths that ain't been COVID-19. So quit saying that they put everything under that category. That's just pure ignorance. And what you're trying to do is you trying to do the same thing that dude in the White House doing that you claim you don't like. Y'all trying to scare people. Y'all trying to baffle them with bullshit and ignorance because you posting ignorant stuff. I'm trying to be as good as I can without tagging people and calling you out, but I done been on your page. Some of y'all done blocked me. It's cool because your friends still know. Ain't no rent protection unless your landlord is getting government assistance. If your landlord ain't getting government assistance, you can still be evicted. Please believe that. To stop the process, make a phone call. Make a phone call. If you talk to your lender, your landlord, or whoever, they will work with you. But guess what? They got to know. They can't just assume that you're on COVID-19, especially when you're already 3-4 months behind on your rent. See, that's not going to happen. So quit claiming stuff. Oh, no, Eric, facts ain't fit, but when they saying things that aren't factual, when they saying, it ain't this, it ain't this, it ain't even real, it's the 5G towers, it's men in spacesuits, it's whatever craziness I done seen. Some of this stuff, it just ain't that. And if I don't work, and I get the people who got to work. Everybody ain't lucky like Mondreka get to work from home. Ernest get to work from home. Some of us got to go out. But guess what? When you got to go out, mask up. Mask up. Because, it's a dumb statement, is I can't afford not to work. Can you afford to die? I mean, it is, from what I heard, it's cheap if you dead, because dead people ain't paid no rent. But is that really the only alternative you got? So, being safe is for everybody else. Why you wear masks? I was a cop for 22 years. Guess what we wore to work? We wore bulletproof vests. Was I afraid of being shot? No. It was a precaution. It was a precaution just in case somebody had a gun. Hell, they ain't even have to be aiming at me because half y'all can't shoot straight. It's a precaution. Why do we wear our seatbelts? It's a precaution. We've seen what not wearing seatbelts do. We've seen what it does. All of us got kids. We didn't tell our kids to put on their seatbelts because it was the law. We seen what happened when kids are in car wrecks. And all of us think we can drive, but we can't control who hit us. So guess what? We tell everybody to put their seatbelt on. It's a precaution. It ain't that we running scared. It ain't that we don't want to live free. So quit trying to make it seem like somebody's scared because they're being responsible. But this is the reason. This is the reason why AIDS took over our community. We didn't want to strap up. We want to feel good. Do your thing. I can't be scared. Yeah, everybody ain't got it. But the ones who got it ain't running around with a sign either that say, and some of them do, that say, pick me. I got something that you'll never forget me. And it's us being irresponsible. And my 2020 theme has been about being accountable and responsible. We can't keep doing reckless shit and blaming the government, blaming the white man, blaming 400 years of slavery, all this other shit that we keep coming up with to avoid being responsible, which is part of the reason we having today's show. At some point, with all this power we keep claiming that we got to exert some power. And power comes with responsibility. So if you one of them people who talking about all the power we got, let's not spend our dollars here, let's not do this, then you got a choice in this. Do you want to make the place just a little bit safer for everybody? Do you want to do that? Is it, oh, I can't breathe with the mask on? What the hell are you doing? You run a marathon? I mean, you put the mask on, you go to the grocery store, you put the mask on. Check this out now. You put the mask on when you get out of the car. You don't have to drive with it. I'm confused about y'all driving in the car by yourself with the mask on. You put the mask on, you go to the grocery store for 20 minutes, you walking slow, you ain't running. You come back out, you get in your car, check this out, wash your hands, take your mask off, take your ass home. Y'all got anything? Did I miss anything, fellas?
Keep hand sanitizer in your car.
Which I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I know Mondreka got young kids, so he keeps some. I got young kids, so I keep some. All Ernest kids, they 100 years old, so Ernest probably ain't got no hand sanitizer in the car no more. And all the Roy kids gone, so they probably before now they probably wasn't just keeping it in the car. But those of us who got kids under 15, we keep some hand sanitizer in the car. Yeah. And just because of what I've done, I've always had hand sanitizer. But I just wanted to get that out the way. I got my guys here. What's up, Roy?
I got something I want to say about it real quick.
Go ahead, do you think, bro?
I think the biggest issue that we're running into with this COVID thing with most people is that it hasn't affected them personally.
Right.
Or they don't know somebody who it has touched personally. Like I got one of my fraternity brothers, and he told me, man, and his family's in New York. He's had 8 people die from this thing.
Oh, wow.
In his family. Right. So it's like, it becomes real when either you know somebody personally, or if somebody you are close to at least knows somebody. I've had a couple of classmates who've had their family members who've passed away from it and stuff. So, again, and I got people, I don't know if you've ever dealt with a couple of the folks who are on some of the shows who are conservatives. I don't like just using the word Republicans because it's not necessarily all of them, but, people who are complaining about their rights and a lot of this stuff really do amaze me because, again, there are so many things that you deal with that you don't have. Like, you've got the right to say, you've got freedom of speech. You've got your First Amendment right. But at the same time, you can't run into a building and scream fire.
Right.
And this is that type of thing. It's like, they're not telling you don't go out. They're asking you to do things to help, like you said, prevent the spread of something. And if it's going to inconvenience you a little bit, I mean, why are we so concerned? What in our lives is that important that we're going to be inconvenienced for whatever short amount of time we're out amongst people? Right. So that was all I just wanted to say. That
right. And those are valid points because it's like when we did the quarantine, unintended consequences. If you follow the stats, the world got better. There was a less of a carbon footprint. A lot of places, for those of y'all who are interested in really working, if your business can stop paying rent for a brick and mortar building, they can hire more people to do stuff from home. Mm-hmm. Because now they ain't got to pay that rent. I know Mondreka worked for a big company. Ernest worked for a big company. The fact that they don't have to supply their employees with computers or phones because they just all part of the process. They can get them a little bit of raise to get them things for themselves, and they don't have to buy these things now. Whereas before they had to do all of that. And truth be told, as much as some of us ain't gonna like it, they could cut back on some medical benefits. We might not like that part, but there's certain things that are making the world a better place. But some of y'all are such staunch advocates for what ain't gonna happen. And I always ask them, tell me which part of the Constitution you read that says you can do whatever you want to. Just show me that part. Just show it to me, because I've read it before. And as Roy said, you do have freedom of speech to a certain extent. You got freedom of movement to a certain extent. You can't go into a public building whenever you want to. Those are for the public. But you can't go in a public building whenever you want to. They even tell you what time you can go into a public park. So you can't just go where you want to, even though the Constitution says you got freedom of movement. I read it. So I just want y'all to let that go. And I don't want y'all to argue with people and keep getting blocked like I've been blocked. But it's okay. All right? So, all right, Lee, I'm gonna cut me a light on right quick. I was trying to set the mood. I see everybody looking like they paid their light bill. I was trying to look like I paid mine too, but they showing me up. So we're gonna take a quick break. Roy, you got the voting video? You know that's my favorite video.
No, I don't. I get it.
But you had it for the second break. I had to put my super producer on the spot. Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna respond to some of the messages. Gang, can y'all see the messages? Y'all got. I know you got 4 or 5 devices, Mondreka. So we're gonna talk about Ernest right now because he probably ain't got but one.
I got 2 going, but I still don't see the messages.
All right, you gotta come hit the link and it'll bring you to random thoughts and you can see what people saying stuff.
We'll get on that.
We'll do.
You got one. All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. What's up, B? I'm gonna speak to everybody and then we're gonna keep it moving. So we'll be right back and we're gonna get into this fatherhood and manhood. Y'all ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's what's up. Hey, Drake, get your glass, man.
The Creole seasoning is a sodium-free and sugar-free blend that's versatile enough to put on anything. One of the first blends I developed more than 8 years ago, the Creole seasoning has an unmistakable aroma, a bold flavor, and a little heat for character. Every time I open one of these bottles, I hear trumpets and big band music.
For my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching say, make this for my people that don't get to see me, trying to remind you who you are, just like in Romans 3. See, we about to blow across the world just like a day that's breezy. This motivation for the people and this classic Bible teaching, hey, motivation.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend.
All right, we back. We finna get on this. Let me do this one more time for my girl who still ain't put her page up. See, I got the ethnocentric mask from my buddy Lee Hayes. Get you one. All right, well, she's saying your commercial's too long. That was my fault, Lee. Don't put that one on him. All right, so now what we want to talk about now is fatherhood and manhood. And what I want to start with first is because I know one of my guests has got a short amount of time. We're gonna talk about fatherhood first. And one of the reasons I want to do this is, Ernest, I want you to make sure you talk about some of this because your program your program is for manhood. We're gonna start with manhood first because I need to make sure Ernest got time before he leaves. We're gonna talk about some of the programs that we got for our young boys in the process. But we're gonna use what's been going on the last few weeks, months, whatever. All right, for those of y'all who don't know, I'm sure y'all seen the thing about Dwayne Wade and his son who wants to be who identifies as a girl, and all that Dwayne Wade went through. Now, being the host, I'm gonna let everybody else get their take, then I'm gonna give my take. But this is the question: when you have a son, when you have a child, we encourage them to be themselves. If they give you something that you don't like, that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But when we're talking about having your kids having a good relationship, being open and honest, you can't sit there and discriminate against them because they feel differently than we want them to. I mean, hell, most of us want our kids to play some kind of sport, what we used to. Now with all the concussion, we don't want to. But that's what most of us want. We want our kids to be some kind of athlete so we could go out there and cheer and tell lies and watch our kids, hit kids with slobber knockers and decleaters or hit home runs. But when the kids need role models, and one of the discussions we was having yesterday about manhood is that sometimes as fathers, and we've all been fathers, we all are fathers, sometimes we work harder to make sure that our kids can get things that they want and need, which means we're a little bit more absent. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It can work both ways. But part of being man, I guess I lied, part of being a man is taking care of home. Whatever it is you got to do. Most of us, even those of us that came from two-parent households, can't say we saw our dad a lot because he was out working, because mom took care of home. We saw dad when we got in a shitload of trouble. We might have caught him every now and then, but he wasn't a constant part of most of our lives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let, because I know you're going to have a lot, Ernest, I'm going to start with Mondreka and tell me some of the things, because you got a son. What are some of the things when y'all talking about, you tell him that manhood involves? Or how you express to him what you expect from him as he's growing up in this harsh world.
The way I think kids are, they what they gravitate to now most is entertainment, the Instagrams, the social medias, and those depictions of what they see manhood is, right? And how the kids close to their ages manage the relationships they're around, or how they're perceived as people, right?
Right.
What I try to have a conversation with my boys about is how men really act. And I don't deviate far from where my dad and my grandfather, for that matter, me. A lot of people say, hey, we can't be spanking on these kids like we used to, or get those spankings like you used to get, or some people kind of think the rearing that we got was a little, it might have been a little bit over the top now, right?
Right.
So I give my boy kind of tough love, but I show him that he's loved, right? It's just a constant conversation with him about what I expected from him as a man, how to treat his sisters. He has two sisters, so how to treat his two sisters, how to treat women out front, whenever he's out and about in public, and just in general have a conversation of what's expected. And I don't think these kids understand what's to be expected when they're a man, because they don't see a lot of man or male influences around them. So for me, it's just about having those solid conversations with him about where he needs to be and what he needs to do, and what manhood is to me. And for the most part, he takes it in.
All right, Ernest.
So, Mondreka, pleasure meeting you, sir. Thank you, Darren and Roy, for having me on this show here this evening. If we look at everything, the common denominator for all of this is the father. Manhood, father, but it all starts with the father. See, we've lost what's called our rites of passage that we used to go through to go from boy to man. We've lost those uncles and grandfathers and the men in the village, and as we used to say up top, the old heads who also policed us and raised us. We've lost that, right? So we are now too afraid to talk to our young men, or we believe that since we're in a gated community, I got mine, they better get theirs. So it all goes back to fatherhood/manhood. So if the father is there teaching these young men what a real man, what a father is and what a man is, then we won't have these issues. When you were talking about Lil Bootsy and his statement and what he did for his young son, he said, and I quote, "We're training men." Well, just because a woman performed special services for you does not mean or equate to manhood. But Bootsy's father didn't know, and Bootsy's grandfather didn't know. So all we're doing is perpetuating the cycle, which is what Future Gents is here to eliminate and stop. We're here to break that cycle of being a man is how many women you can smash and how many BMs you have. No. I think I said this earlier. Being a man is being responsible for your actions, and being responsible for your family's actions as well as providing and protecting. But because, as Brother Mondreka said earlier, we don't have enough positive male role models to enforce that. I ask that question every time in our workshop. How many positive male role models have you seen in 1 week? If they don't see positive male role models and all they see is the bull in the corner, that's who they're going to emulate.
And some of it, I don't think is that, like I said, some of the best dads are out working and they don't get it. And I think I was telling you when I was watching one of the specials, the DC Sniper talked about he got pulled into the system because I forgot the older guy's name, but because he paid him attention. It was nothing else. And like I say, when you're working, one of the points you brought up initially, Ernest, is when we're at that stage, and I'm gonna use Mondreka because I've been knowing him. He been had a job since I've been knowing him. When we're working and we're grinding for our family, we do lose out on the ability to help other kids because we're trying to make sure our family's straight. So there is, even though there's probably more responsibility on us, there's less availability for us to go out and do more because we're so focused on trying to get our family straight that sometimes we lose people in the shuffle, which is why we have to get better at having programs like you're doing. So we got something in the kids.
And you're right, Darren. You're 100% correct. If this were back in the day when we were growing up, right? We have the technology. We have the platforms now for them to reach out to mentors, to reach out to the three of you. Put Future Gents out of this. Let's take Future Gents out of this. But they have the ability to reach out and watch this video. Chime in on what we're talking about. But that's not important enough. So we got to change their mindset. You got to change their mindset. Otherwise, we could be as available as we want to be as a father. If their mindset is not there to absorb.
Well, I'm going to get you, Drake. And more importantly to me than their mindset, and when we talked about this, we got to change what they see. See, when they see different, they can do different. Because I can tell you how everything's going to be this. But if I can't show it to you, one of the things that I love about Georgia, Atlanta specifically, is for black people, you get to see black people doing stuff. You don't have to look on TV. You don't have to read books. You can go anywhere and just run into random black people that you've seen, and you can see black men doing stuff. You can see black women doing stuff. We can be down here. My mom made it a point to make sure all my doctors were black. My eye doctor was black. My ear doctor was black. My dentist was black. She made sure I was flooded with that scene. Even though, I'm not knocking any other race, there's some good doctors of other race, but she wanted to make sure I saw that positive message. Even though we were from the hood, she made sure you saw this. And this is where we have to change what they see. And when we doing that, and the little boosted thing, it did bother me. One reason it bothered me so bad was, and I understood the hood message of it, but for years, we forced, because we can't act like gay people don't exist. We forced them to live, we forced them to be undercover. Having sex ain't changed the young gay person, it ain't swiped them over. So just because you get them that, what we've learned, if we're true, is that it has traumatized some of them to the point where they either didn't want to be with a woman or they became abusers of women because they were attacked by a woman. I ain't defending nothing this man did. But if we watch and pay attention to the R. Kelly story, he talks about being molested by a woman. That paved this mentality for how he treated women from that point on. That was something, what he did was wrong, but we can't overlook the underlying cause of what made him start putting in women in that regard. And if we as fathers, as we as men, if we tell boys that you become a man through an erection, you become a man through penetrating a woman, then we are sending the wrong message in all kind of ways. Because that was what I was saying. So now what's to stop them from taking it when, they getting picked on in the street and somebody called a little punk, they gonna go out and rape a little girl, then the prison number's gonna go up. That ain't got nothing to do with white people, that ain't got nothing to do with the government. That's us not changing the narrative and showing them different, and we putting too much stress on them. How much money you make don't mean nothing. How much money Mondreka make? We gotta take that mentality out. Do something, be productive, be a productive member of society, and learn what it is. Learn how to be accountable and responsible. I'm sure Mondreka don't want to work sometimes. He got a boy and a girl. Sometimes they got events, but when work call, guess what? If you want to keep them in that lifestyle, he got to work. He can't just say, hey, my daughter got a softball game today. I need to be there. They're like, do you like this check or do you like your daughter? He loves his daughter, but that check keeps his daughter happy. He got to make decisions. And we got to start pushing that out, that narrative, accountability, and responsibility, because sometimes our priorities, they can't be emotional priorities. Roy, you had something?
Well, Mondreka was first, so let the brother go ahead and go. I want to come on after him, though.
Yeah, I think Darren and Ernest both touched on it, in my opinion. But my question is, how much of this is programming from entertainment, and is there a ploy? Do you guys feel that there's a ploy specifically toward our community and where they're pulling our kids in what direction?
No, I'm gonna go next because that was the whole point of my question and part of my comment in the first place. So I actually had a couple of things that I want to do and addressing both something that Ernest and Darren said, because actually, Darren, this is one of those times where slightly I disagree with some of the stuff that you were saying, but I agree with the overall premise of it. And so I want to start with that part that Darren was saying. I actually changed my work schedule. I changed my work habits and focused more on my business and some other things specifically for the purpose that I could be at all of my kids' stuff at school. I didn't want anybody telling me, okay, you got to come to work now and you have to miss certain things. Let me tell you why. Like you said, my dad was always there to do all the other stuff that needed to be done. I ran track in high school. I played football. I did all these different things. I was in theater. I was, of course. My dad showed up to one track meet. Well, actually two, but the first track meet of mine, the first sporting event that he was ever able to show up to was one that was in my neighborhood, because it was at the high school that was in our neighborhood that we did. It was Suncoast High School, and we lived in Riviera Beach. That was my best track meet ever because my father was there. And I knew that he wanted to be there. And sometimes, we talk about this because even when we get into it, when you talk about the whole money thing and all this stuff, because we get into that even when we get into divorce and you're not being able to do things from a financial perspective. The impact of a father's place in our community is the main thing that has been distorted and taken away from us. Mondreka, that's where the programming comes in. Darren will tell you, I have been saying this. This is the main purpose for our network. Because for my entire life, the 50 years that I have been alive on this earth, everybody else has been telling black people who we were. except black people. Now, I lived and grew up in a middle-class black neighborhood. We had doctors and attorneys and professionals, people who had gone to college. So I saw that growing up. But it's not the same thing that everybody else has. And, you know, and having people who are around and being around that, you know, that's when we get into the point about the images that our kids see. So I'm going to tell a little bit about when I was doing stuff with my son. My son is the youngest of my 3 kids. And we lived in a neighborhood, one of the neighborhoods, we lived in this town called Eatonville in Orlando. Eatonville is actually the oldest black incorporated municipality in the country. If you saw the story, Their Eyes Are Watching God, that the Zora Neale Hurston story that Oprah Winfrey and Halle Berry did, that was actually the town that they were in. Now, on the block that we lived on, there were maybe 5 or 6 little boys who were within a year or 2 of my son in either direction. I was the only father in the house. One of the little boys had a grandfather. And whenever I would go out, and I made it a point to go out into the yard and play catch with my son, to be out there with him, getting him engaged in different things. We would throw the ball and it'd go over my head. I'd turn around, all 5 of the little boys will be in line. Mr. Evans, can we play too? You know, we have to realize and get to the point of understanding. And Aria, made a comment on here about mothers have to be careful who they allow to mentor their sons. But she is absolutely correct on that. But at the same time, we've got to understand as men, we don't, and I had a program that I actually had done some stuff with, Ernest, and what we did is we took the mentor word out of it. Because what people have to realize is that mentoring is a scary thing for people to do. Because when you mentor somebody, you are committing to become an everyday part of that person's life. You are committing to be engaging with them every time. And like Darren says, I may not have time to give that commitment to some kid outside of my family. But what we can do with other kids is we can be available to them. We can be engaging with them. And, you know, so it's not necessarily mentoring. What it is that it's a situation where you are there and you are able to get involved and they can see you being a man. Because that's what the key is people being a man and them seeing it. My son was 3 years old. Whenever we would go out to restaurants, he would hold the door open for women as we were standing there waiting for our tables to be opened up. And I'll never forget it. We were out one day and not without me saying anything, he jumped up because these 2 older ladies were headed out the door and at 3 years old and held the door open for them. And the ladies were like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a powerful thing to see, and you know that's a good teaching." It wasn't necessarily I taught him. He saw me doing it. He saw me doing it every day with his mothers and sisters. Like Mondreka says, you teach your son, the best way to teach our sons and our boys is to have them through, or is by example. They need to see us doing things. And that's human nature. We're going to replicate what we see, not majority of what people tell us.
And one of the things he touched on was about media programming. And I know a couple of fathers who I've watched them. They only got one TV in the house and it's in the living room. So they control what their kids see. Because sometimes we're so busy, we let them watch whatever. And we don't realize that has a lasting effect on them. If we don't sit around and talk to them about what they see, we help absent perpetuate some of the things that go on. We all get busy and we run our kids to the TV. And, you know, it happens. But that's one of the things that we got to be more accountable for. My daughter has a Elite Pad. There's nothing but ABC Kids and learning games on there. She know more about dinosaurs than anybody I know. But she don't get to watch regular TV because I've seen that's one of the things that there ain't one of us who been a parent who can't say our kids ain't worked on our nerves. We just want them to go somewhere for a little while. Watch whatever you want, just don't bother us. So when we get to that phase, we have to give them something to watch that we know won't taint them. And that's more on us as we understand problems, because one of the things about having a group of men, a group of women, whatever talk, you get to hear different things and different ways to combat it, because some of us, like I say, just don't know. Everybody can't afford a Elite Pad. And, you know, it sucks. But if you can't and they're busy, then you got to let that TV be just a little bit louder so you can hear what they're watching. Make sure they're watching something educational that will lead to a productive conversation. When they put out the thing on sexual predators, me and my daughters watched it so they could understand, and they had questions. So it was an informative program, because under general circumstances, I wouldn't have wanted my daughter watching that. But these are the times now where she needs to know that. I can't put my head in the sand. So part of, because I don't want to get too off track, but part of the manhood thing is making sure that I'm passing on good knowledge to my daughters as well as my sons. I can't sit back and do like most of us, you know, the mom treat the son one way and the daughter another way. And as Ariel did say, and I talked to Ernest about this, we have to let our kids pick their mentors, then we have to get to know them. If Mondreka's sons take to me, Mondreka can't do a whole lot about that. Mondreka may want his son to like his uncle. But if he like D more, then Mondreka got to accept that and just make sure that I ain't teaching them something that don't need to be, because I think that's what happened to a lot of us. My mom tried to force mentors on me. I didn't like any of them. So I just went through the motions, but I couldn't wait till I got away from them. When I picked the one I liked, that's who I gravitated toward. Unfortunately, he taught me a couple of bad habits. But my mom didn't pay attention to who I was with. She wanted me to hang with somebody who was just, he was talking above my head about shit I just absolutely didn't care about. Go ahead, Mondreka.
Yeah, that's inherent though, right? Kids always gravitate. You could tell my son something I said to him yesterday. Hear you, but he won't hear what I said. Even if he said the exact same thing I said verbatim, right? Same thing with my daughters. Baby, do it this way. It takes somebody outside of our household, and I don't know why it works that way, to say the exact same thing you say for them for that to be an intake for them, right? So it's frustrating at sometimes, but you know, that's if that's how they're going to get what they need to get. As long as you can trust that person that's giving them that information, that's fine to me. I was a mentor. I did Big Brothers Big Sisters in Alabama, and I started when my son, my little brother was 5. He's 25 now. We're still Big Brothers Big Sister now. So like Roy said, it's an undertaking. Yeah. But you know, my little brother's graduated from school in Jacksonville, Alabama, and he's in his master's degree. And we still talk probably once or twice a week, you know, about life and everything going on with him, right? But same thing here. If my little girl can find a mentor, my boy can find a mentor that can give them some information, and they'll hear what they're saying as long as it's the proper information, I'm fine with it. You know, but as long as it ain't none of that the wrong stuff like D took on, I'm good with it.
And that's why Ernest has a program, and it's about. I know you don't like the word, Roy, and I didn't like the word dads, because I don't think we all need dads. All boys need positive male role models. Whoever he is, they need a positive male role model. And we talked about it. That, again, part of being manhood is accepting the challenge from people you don't know. You know, the lion thing. Make sure you walk the right way, because you never know who's looking and subconsciously emulating you. Mm-hmm. You know, the church I was working at, you know, I got one little boy who I adopted as my little, you know, my church son, and I was fussing him about his grades. And there's a little boy next to him. He's like, you know what, man? I wish I had a man who cared about me and my grades. Little fella, what's your phone number? He gave me his phone number. I said, I'm gonna call you and check on you if you get them grades on. He said, well, I sure appreciate it. He said, because don't nobody never ask me. He said, my mama asked me sometimes, but I ain't never had a man just act like he cared about me like you act like him. And he said, I know his daddy. And the guy who I was already fussing at, his dad knows me. And he did what Mondreka said. He said, man, I don't know what it is you say to my son, but whatever you say to him, if I say it, he don't hit me. If you say it, he'll come back and be like, man, you almost as smart as Mr. D. You know, hey, man, don't be getting me in trouble saying that to your dad. Your dad is smarter than me. But like Mondreka said, they take it different from people outside the family. And this is why we have to get that. And part of being a man is standing up at all times, because you don't know who's watching you. You can't just put all people, especially boys. You got to get that general appearance. And one of the things is we have to live that life. We all fail, but what we can't do is we can't fail publicly. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sure all y'all had an argument with your girlfriend, your wife, or whoever, but do it like our grandparents do. Do it when the kids sleep. Do it somewhere else. You can't argue with them at the mall. You can't argue, because that's what kids see, and then that becomes a norm. And we've let that go on too long. That ain't mainstream media. That's World Star Hip Hop. That's YouTube, where this is what gets pushed out. You ain't gonna see a video of Mondreka walking in the mall holding his wife's hand. You ain't gonna see me and Trina holding hands. You ain't gonna see Ernest and me holding hands because don't nobody like that. But let us turn around and start yelling at each other. All the cameras come up. That's who we become, and I can't put that all on mainstream media. That's what likes do for people.
D, let me jump in real quick because I actually I know part of the conversation, especially what brought me into it. I want to get Ernest's opinion before I know he has to get ready to get out of here. Ernest, what's your actual opinion on the two different situations with Bootsy and with Dwayne Wade? Because that was the main reason I know I came into the conversation with D, because I actually had a view on both sides of it.
And that's a great question, boy. Thank you for allowing me to chime in. And let me piggyback off what you said earlier before I answer that. It doesn't matter what we call it. Doesn't matter if we call it mentor, doesn't matter if we call it stepdad, whatever, uncle, old head, whatever. It's the action. I want to focus more on the action than what people call it. If that is a word that is not apropos, being a mentor, that's cool. But what we are going to do is we're going to be committed. And that's the key. We're going to show up. Every one of my mentors knows that commitment is the key. The differences between Dwayne Wade and Lil Bootsy. First of all, Dwayne Wade's son didn't just come out and say that, right? He didn't just wake up one day and say, I want to change who I am. Something along the line, somewhere along his childhood, he has been crying out and nobody heard it. Nobody heard it. Okay, so you're not going to hear me. You're not going to hear me? All right. So if I do this, now I'm going to get your attention. Okay, so I don't know the whole story behind it. If my child came to me out of the clear blue and told me that, I'd have to ask questions about what I did. Because let's be honest, our goal as men is to reproduce. That's what we're supposed to do, right? We want, and that's why we all want sons, because we want them to carry on our name. Let's be honest, okay? So if little Johnny decided at 5 that he wants to change who he is, we need to have a discussion about that. And we don't need to put that out on social media. That's something that stays close to chest. That's something that stays in our family, in our household. So by the time, because he is a public official or an entertainer, sports figure, by the time it does get out, we've already discussed this amongst our family. Now, the reason why Lil Bootsy got involved is because he chimed in on Dwayne Wade's son and told him, please don't cut his you-know-what off. That's not your business, Lil Bootsy. You can't go into that man's household and tell him what to say and how to raise his son. We can't do that. We have to accept Dwayne Wade's son or daughter for who he or she is. Little Bootsy, on the other hand, is doing only what has been trickled down from slavery. All we know is smashing. That's all we know. Back in the day, they had boarding houses. All black, a black male slave, his only job was to make more slaves. That doesn't mean take care of those slaves. Make more slaves. We'll take care of them. That built it up from after slavery to when welfare started, right, to when child support came. All that. Look, you black man, father, you're not important. But just keep making babies, be a BD, and that's it. The government will take care of it.
Let me interrupt you right quick. And that is why it's got to stop. See,
exactly.
But when we say things that we know we attributed, that we picked up from slavery, if we know this, why are we carrying that same mentality on? That's why I get mad when people drink on the weekend, they fight on the weekend. If we know this is what happened in slavery, see, it's no longer programming. These are choices. These are choices now. So we can't. systematic racism, because I get the point. But again, when I met Mondreka, I didn't sit there and decide I wanted to fight him. We didn't have you can't tell, but Mondreka ain't as dark as I am, but we didn't have a color issue. Those are choices that people tend to make, and then we like to fall back on them. I'm willing to bet Mondreka ain't never been a slave, so how can he suffer from slave-like mentality? And we keep using that for an excuse, and if we're going to say something, we let the white man give us excuses that we use to our advantage. Because you can't sit there and say I'm successful on one hand, but I'm programmed on the other hand. What the F is that about? Either you
Darren, let me emphasize. I am not blaming anybody else for that.
We talking about the mass. Now, no, ain't nothing personal. We talking about that's what we do as a race, as a sex. Black men, the first thing we like to say is I grew up in a fatherless household. What that mean? So if you love your mother, you should have been a little bit more responsible. I don't understand how that narrative plays out to you being whatever you are. I grew up with a father not in the household. I didn't rape women. I did some other shit, but I didn't do nothing because at a point when I understood what I was doing, I had to make choices, and I held myself accountable for those choices. What's up, Mondreka?
I agree with Ernest in this one though.
And I'm next.
There's a certain amount of programming, right? And follow me when I take you there. Like Ernest said before, we've been programmed to not be in that house. Not only have we been programmed, we've been actually exiled from the house, right? And if you don't have anybody to learn that from as a child, you're going to learn it from that dude that's on the corner. So you got the welfare system that tells your wife, that tells that lady, yeah, I'll give you money. You don't need a man. And if you ever bring a man into the house that we're providing for you, we're going to put you out of that house and we'll start charging you rent, right? We'll give you these food stamps as long as there's no man in that house. If there's a man in the house, we're going to take your numbers away, right? And that's, again, we've been programmed to be that person, that guy that's donating sperm and walking away. And now it's up to you as a man to change that narrative. Because my dad wasn't in the house, but he was there. Begrudgingly, he fought to be there. My mother was trying to kick him, was keeping him away from the house. But my father fought and was there every weekend regardless of that, you know. So it's about what you want to do. And I agree with you, Darren. We have to break the cycle. But everybody doesn't have the will or the ability to know that there's a cycle being brought upon us as opposed to us just living our lives the way that we've been taught.
If they didn't know, how they blaming somebody else? It's a punk-ass excuse. Go ahead.
I blame nobody. I'm just saying that's the way it is.
Right, because it's easier for us. It's easier to blame than to take accountability. Go ahead, Roy.
Okay, so here's the reality of both of those situations, though, D. There is a reason, and I think people don't understand the psychology behind television and radio programming. Yes. That is exactly why it's called that, because they initiate and input ideas into your brains over and over again, and subconsciously they do this. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about this so much when she was alive, and she was trying to talk to sisters to get them to understand how the system was specifically targeting them to keep us separated. So let me say this. So yes, you're absolutely right, Ernest and Mondreka, from the fact that yes, centuries of stuff has been done to us, and we were put into these places and we were put into these situations. But here's where we now have to come to the point of where Darren's talking about, because we have to understand that this stuff is real. There's a reason that you make so much money for great shows. And then I'm going to mention the thing. I don't want to get too deep in because I know you want to take a break. So I'm going to start there, and if you'll let me come back in when we come back, I'll finish it from that part. But you've got to understand, though, my man said it, and of course, just because I wanted to use his quote, I had it in my mind until I was just about to say his name. But one of the folks that I follow said this, and he said, "Education makes a man unfit to be a slave." Mm-hmm. And this is why we were not allowed to be educated, because when we know, but see, now there's no excuse for not being educated because we live in the information age.
Yes,
the programming that we have can be counteracted, or the programming that they're doing can be counteracted if we do our part to it. But I'm gonna let you run us out to your break, D. Brian or D?
Are we good?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you. I'm because I know you want to take a break, so I'm gonna let us close out to your break, and then I'll finish when we come back. So I'm gonna let you lead you out, do what you wanted to do.
All right. So are we live or we're on the break? Now I'm confused.
So we're live. We're still live yet. So you're gonna take us out.
All right. Well, I'm gonna agree with this thing that Lee said, because this is one of my points. We gotta quit saying. Please stop saying that BS about a woman needing help because a man leaves. We did not kick you out for food stamps. We got food stamps because you left. And one of my statements was, when we talk about this whole welfare system, when we talk about this welfare system and try to blame the system on that, we had a choice. I ain't never got no woman pregnant who had to get on food stamps. So that whole welfare system, that was something that we bought into because it was originally made for white people. But yeah, when it happens and she can't do certain things, again, that became because a lot of that came because the man who impregnated her was a male and didn't stand up to his rights. Once you get her pregnant, you have a responsibility, and that's part of what we got to start pushing forward. If you're gonna let your seed go unprotected, you still responsible for your seed go.
Okay, dude, I'm gonna definitely have to come back in on that when we come back.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick break. And I gotta go. You gotta go?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody, for having me.
Later.
All right, appreciate it, man. Great to meet you, brother.
Pleasure is mine, Mondreka.
And we got your video now, D.
Say it again.
We got your video coming up.
Okay. What's up, Farod? Yo, for those of y'all who on my regular page.
44th President of the United States. He will be African-American President of the United States.
I've been broke all my life, but I kept hope all them nights. You see business in my city? Yeah, they closed all them twice. I was just riding down saying, this weekend, everybody got less food stamps. And when I turned 21, I was still broke. I'd never vote again. I don't think I ever had a president make my life better. Did it all on my own. Ain't no politician ever do a nice gesture. I don't even know the mayor's name. I ain't never seen her one time ever. Tell me how she gonna help the city. What I'm supposed to do, write letters? What I'm supposed to do, blame Trump? He ain't wanna keep us broke, cause they ain't putting nothing in place for us. This how all my people feel, but we gotta learn. We complained enough, but all our votes really do count. And they'll never really let it show. So now I'm finna break it down, cause if I don't, you would probably never know. First thing first, you know back in middle school when they taught us it was 3 branches of the government. We forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive, that's the me. Now none of them 3 people make no laws, they just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news station tried to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along. We gotta focus on the legislative branch, yeah, they the ones that make the laws. Yeah, they the ones write how much food stamp money you get on, it's what they do. Okay, minimum wage, but we ain't even really know it though. So you know how back in 08, when we out, and they don't gotta leave after 4 years, and we just let them sit. See, they don't wanna tell you this, they want you to focus on the president. Now the 3rd branch is the judicial, that's judges. They the reason why John Crawford and Trayvon ain't had justice. So when Meek Mill got locked up just for popping willies, we blame the judge and not the city. When they
Nephew, you good?
Yes, sir.
You sound good too. Alright, we are back. We back. I got my nephew in this joint. Farod, he's a father. He's got sons and daughters, got a beautiful wife. You know, just because she my niece, they ain't got nothing to do with it. If she was ugly, I would call her my ugly niece. But fortunately, she ain't, because Farod is almost as shallow as me. And he got strong opinions about the manhood and the fatherhood, and that's what we talking about. And I understand what we was talking about with Bootsy. I grew up in the hood, and sex is a way of proving your manhood. We know that's as false as all these other narratives. At some point, we have to stop them, and to try to compare them to weigh them. That don't make it right. Wrong is wrong. All right, and just because I'm a lawman, it's still prostitution. It's still aggravated. It's aggravated sexual battery, because these are minor kids. And if he's teaching them that's what's right, and you got dads saying, "Well, I'd rather pay for my son to get a blowjob than to have him wearing a dress." Well, that's a super ignorant mentality too. You might as well drink that hydro shit that 45 talking about. At some point, I'm gonna say again, part of being, and we like to call ourselves grown. We like to call ourselves men. We like to call ourselves kings and all this other shit. Then we turn around and jump off the deep end and do dumb shit and blame everybody else. Part of the reason that I picked this crew is because we don't all have to agree. But what we can't do is sit there and try to justify our inaction because of something somebody else didn't do. We've all had our own struggles, and we all handle them in different ways. Was Farod's way right? Was Mondreka's way right? Was my way? We did what we had to do at the time. But guess what? And I can use Farod on this one because I don't know Mondreka's whole situation. But Farod got his son back from his son's mother. See, so that's a whole different fight. He could have chosen to walk away and let her ride in the system. That would have been a clear indicator that he wasn't doing what he should have did. Because he was part of that, he helped make this son. So what did he do? He got custody. That's part of being a man. Because a lot of us talk a good game, but a lot of us ain't gonna do what it take to get custody because it requires going through that same system we hate. So when we're doing this, see now, Farod can always tell his son, I came back and got you. I think Mondreka was already married, so he don't count. You know, he been married. He was married. He been married since Frederick Douglass was around.
I've been with her since Frederick Douglass was around. It was Martin Luther King when we got married.
And my oldest son was with his mother, and I was giving her money because I didn't want her on the system. And then when he got to a certain age, we had a discussion. Hey, it's at that time now he needs to come and stay with me. But I realized, because I was initially that dad who was working all the time to make sure my kids had stuff, I couldn't control my workforce and make the money I needed to support 2 different households. But once I got there, I didn't want to support 2 different. I got control of my work schedule. I talked to his mother. I said, hey, you ready for him to come stay with me? She said, I've been waiting for you to ask. So at that point, he came and lived with me. But we kept her out of the system because I took care of mine. So we can't keep using that as a fallback. Like I said, we can't keep using, I didn't have a dad. We can't keep using all these things that they give us so that we can prescribe the failure, and it's okay. Mondreka, put your hand down. Mondreka got a good job. Why does he have a good job? Because that's what he wanted. He could have made bad choices like some of us. He could have sold drugs and let that be his whole lifestyle. He could have dated a woman, had kids, and left. Because that's what we do. Why didn't he choose that route? For how long you been married now? You've been married almost 20 years now. How long you been married? You muted yourself, I think. How long you been married, Farod?
Going on 12 years.
Farod been married almost half his life.
Yeah, 12 years.
These are choices. These are choices. And Farod got a son who going to college. And, I was joking about the other day. He got a good-looking son. They've already had talks about him dating multiple women at a time. Mm-hmm. See, that's part of it. See, and he could have took the Boosie route. Hell, how old are you, Farod?
35.
Farod, the youngest one in the group. So he came from that pro-sex group. The whole world is about having sex with as many women as you can. That's what we do. Farod is from that era. So why is he telling his son to only have one woman? Speak on it, Mr. Thomas.
All right. Thank you. Well, I'm also from that era where, I didn't have a father in the home. And the streets raised me. I'm from College Park, Georgia. So being out in the streets was all I knew. But, I knew that in having a son, which I had at, I found out I was expecting my son at 16 and had him at 17. I was still in high school. But I knew, and I made the decision in my mind that, his circumstances weren't going to be like mine. His circumstances weren't going to be like my friends, like, the people that, we grew up with who fathers abandoned them or whatever, you know what I mean? And true enough, indeed, my mom was like very lenient on my father. I'm sure she could have put him on child support, but she didn't. And I'm sure that my mom, used some government assistance to raise us. But for me, I made up in my mind that I was going to be who I needed to be for him so that, that generational curse, so to speak, could be broken. But, I think, for everybody, man, it's different. But I agree with you, Bill. I think, using that system is an excuse. I think if you do step up and do what you got to do for yours, then it's not necessary.
Right. And part of what we got to teach when we're talking about fatherhood and being a manhood is, I do talk to kids about spreading that seed. Now, I don't expect, when my son was 15, I didn't expect him to be a virgin. He was a good looking boy. against his mother's wishes, we went to the store and I bought him some condoms. I saw how them girls was acting around him. I didn't want him to have sex, but it would have been foolish to me to hope that just hope he was gonna stay a virgin forever. So if you're gonna do it, let's put these measures in place. There's a reason we got fire extinguishers. We don't hope the house gonna catch on fire, but we're being proactive. So yeah, I put these measures in place. So if he's gonna do it, and we talked about this, for the longest, my son only knew about me and his mom. Now when me and his mom broke up and he got to be an adult and we went to strip clubs and he saw how much clout his dad had, he looked at me different. He's like, man, you knew all these women and you still stayed, you never cheated on my mom. I said, no, because this is play. This was real life. Understand, play as much as you want to, as long as you ain't affecting nobody else. Once you decide you're gonna have a woman in your life and you're gonna give her a title, you gotta stop all the other craziness. There's no getting around that, because we've seen what it does, and that's one reason I pushed Farod. I knew he was gonna be late, but Farod is a prime example. Fatherless household in the hood, had a baby at an early age. His son came to live with him. His son adopted his wife. And these are the stories that we got to make the narrative instead of the norm. Farod ain't a unicorn. Mondreka been with his wife for since way before slavery. This has got to become the norm. We got to get in relationships, and we got to stay in successful relationships, because when we keep talking about what happened in the pre-slavery days and all that, you didn't hear about men with different women. Everything they show you is a man with one woman. So where do we get this being a whoremonger as part of being a manhood? We didn't. What? Don't be making faces, Roy. I can see you.
I forgot.
What man was mass producing kids? What man do we know was mass producing kids in this slavery era that we keep talking about? We don't have an example. We just keep thinking that. But
D,
come on.
D, let me jump in, because I want to address a couple.
Yeah, because I called your name.
Yeah, you did, and I want to address a couple of things, and I'm gonna say some of the stuff that we said while we were off camera. So let's go back, because first let's get this straight. We never said, and I'm saying we right now because me and Mondreka were both kind of echoing this point. We never said that women are doing things they're not getting children to be on welfare. We're not saying, I know I didn't say that. So I'm assuming, I'm going to assume. No, yes, y'all did. Y'all saying that, and I know I'm responding to, trying to get into the context of what Lee said. What we are saying, though, that the reality of the system was when they did that, what they first did is they took education and work opportunities out of the black communities. Then you started having all of these situations where black men were going to jail when they were coming back from war. They didn't have any way to get jobs and all this stuff. We're talking about the late 60s and the 70s, after the Civil Rights Act and all that stuff happened, when we were supposed to be free at this point, when we had a much better internal system as a community prior to that. But that's a whole other show that we're not going to deal with today. And then what did they do? They said that in order for a woman to be able to get assistance, you could not have a man in the home. And it's hard. Not everybody is going to take that chance and take that and suck it up and be like, we're going to ride it out. If my man, like my dad, honestly, it's a trip, because I started looking at stuff. My dad didn't finish the 8th grade. My dad went to Job Corps. My dad is still the neighborhood handyman. So my daddy always was able to work, but he didn't have the formal education. So he was able to do other things and get engaged. Not everybody's daddy does that. We get into the situations, and so you've got to look at it. All we were saying about the programming and the way that the system is set up is that it was set up for, and Darren, we're not unicorns. Farod isn't a unicorn. You're right. There are so many brothers out there who stand up and do through the process. But that's where the programming comes in, because what do they show us? Esther Roll, my Sarah did, refuse. She literally refused to do Good Times because they did not want to write a father into the show. So this is the type of stuff. And think about it. That is Good Times is the only show from the 70s, the only black show from the 70s that had a complete family unit. And not only a complete family unit, it had an extended family unit, which is truly indicative of what our community does. Because we all had people, right. Rod, your dad may not have been there, but I'm sure it was somebody in the neighborhood who was like an uncle to you. Or somebody who, if it wasn't D, You know, it was somebody that you could look at, and you, as much as you didn't want to repeat the cycle, there was somebody that you saw who was doing something positive. We've always had that in our community, but those are not the images that they show us of black people. That, I mean, just like, look at what our think about it. The first one to come out was the first reality show to come out was the one from MTV, and then look what they did. What did they do after that? They then started doing stuff with these shows where now it's like, you know what? Hey, you Married to Medicine, Real Housewives. It ain't been, if you look at the Real Housewives, I don't think but maybe 40% of them have actually been wives. The Basketball Wives, the first season of that show with all them black women, none of them other than Shawnee was actually married to any of those players. We are teaching a generation of people to, and I see Farod, Mondreka, I'm going to say this, and I also want to say, I didn't forget the Jeffersons, because the Jeffersons started off as a show out of the Archie Bunker show. And the only reason they even did that was because of the fact that his character was his character was a contrast of Archie's character, and he became popular with other folks. And even when they did that, so it was, you know, they had their stuff. So yeah, they were a complete family unit, but it wasn't to the extent that you had with not the Cosby Show, but the Good
All
Times.
in Family.
Good Times. No, Good Times. Good Times. It was different.
Okay, but Roy, why don't we push the fences narrative? See, we push narratives that help us help us. When we watch Fences, and I watch Fences, and Fences was a great movie because I talk about this all the time. We sit back. There was unskilled labor to be had. Some of us just didn't want to work. We can't keep running from that narrative. We cannot. I only had high school. No, hear me out now. I listen to you. We keep saying there was no jobs because we didn't have education. Unskilled labor has been around forever. We so proud to be slaves and whatever. We don't want to work at Birkin. We don't want to work for minimum wage. So we deliberately choose not to want to take care of our families. That's a choice that we make, because when most of us, I ain't gonna say most, a lot of people learn about their other siblings at a funeral because they found out that daddy was getting around. So you got time to do all this, but you don't have time to take care of stuff. We cannot keep sitting back calling systematic racism and oppression and all that. Yeah, they exist. But part of being a man is stepping up and accepting that challenge. If you ain't going to accept that challenge, stop fucking.
But D,
it's a simple process.
But D,
stop.
Think about what you just said, though. Even that is systematic racism. And again, I agree with you that we all have the ability. It is a choice to move outside of that situation. It is a choice that you take to step away from that. I was having a conversation with somebody today talking about destiny and fate and what I believe is the difference. Fate is saying I'm giving up my choices to everything, but my destiny is what I choose to make it. I'm going to go out. I'm going to put forth the effort. I agree with you on that. But the reality is that we can't negate it, and we can't act like that these issues don't exist. You ask, why don't we push the fences narratives? That's the whole part of, again, programming, and why we need people like us, because we can now have these real conversations. We're not going to other people to dictate and determine who we are. That's what the biggest problem is.
But Mondreka, what did you plan on being 20 years ago? Did you plan to be a highfalutin dude in Verizon? Hell, it wasn't even Verizon 20 years ago. It was AirTouch. I remember them days.
I started at GT, but yeah, when I started with Verizon, I didn't plan on it being a career at all. What I saw was there was a means for me to get out of the city that I was living in. And that was my home. I'm from Anderson, Alabama, and I wanted to move to Atlanta. So I saw the means, and I just took that way. But back to what Roy said with regards to the programming piece. We first got to understand and educate people on what they're trying to do to us. If we don't know that they're trying to do this to us, then we're going to continually do the same thing over and over again. We're crazy because we're insane because we continually do the same thing over and over, expecting different results, right?
And remember when I started the show? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And until we educate everybody and have them open their eyes and see, hey, this is what they're doing. This is why you see TV now without a true depiction of what black love is. You can't find a TV show now that says, here's a black man, here's a black woman, they are in love. Now it's more so, there's a white guy, there's a beautiful black woman. She has to rely on him to live and get to where she needs to be, and that's it. Right? There's no depiction. And you know we get in it. The only way we get engaged with things is if it entertains us. Right? So that's where we are. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to train our people. We have to get people to understand that, yeah, you can break that cycle, but this is how it became a cycle because we were there before.
But to break it, we have to acknowledge it. We can't keep giving excuses for it, and that's what I'm saying. We can't keep giving excuses.
I'm saying acknowledging and holding people accountable.
Right. We got to acknowledge what Farod did. Farod made a choice. Farod could have said, I got all these reasons set up for me. I could have sat back and said, I got all these reasons set up for me to be a fade. I got all these reasons set up for me to be a criminal, and I can blame the system on why I can't get a job because I've done illegal things to feed myself, to feed my family.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you know why? You know the biggest part of why I did some illegal things though? Pride wouldn't let me work a minimum wage job because I didn't want to wear a Burger King uniform. I didn't want to do this. It wasn't the system. It was inside of me because you know what? What I was giving way to was unknown peer pressure because I didn't want my friends to see me working like that because they didn't do it.
D, hold on. So, wait, hold on, stop. Because I want to hit something that you just said. Because this is the part of the programming that we're talking about. Think about what you just said. Why did you do illegal things? What did you just say about why you did illegal things?
Pride.
Exactly. You've been programmed that a black man working at the quote unquote lowering himself to work at Burger King.
Who was that programmed by?
Dude, where do you think that's what my question is to you? This is what people are missing. Those images.
That's what we keep dancing around.
D, listen. This is the part of it. This is the part of the argument. Because like I said, ultimately, yes, we have the choices. But you have to understand that when you subconsciously run images into people's minds, when you subconsciously do that to them over and over again, it programs behavior in them. Do you understand that that's why they started selling popcorn and movies in movie theaters in the 30s when Coca-Cola literally was running tenth of a second clips of big glasses of Coca-Cola and people couldn't figure out why they were getting thirsty in the midst of these movies? That is programming. Programming is a real psychological tool. We see people now, and I'm gonna give you. This is one of those white lighter moments that I'm gonna have for you that you always tell me about. I worked at Burger King. I worked my way up through Burger King. I started working at Burger King when I was 15 years old. When I ended up losing everything I had and was trying to go back to Burger King because I was just about on that edge where a friend of mine was like, "Yo, dude, I know you do some traveling up and down to Atlanta. I need this package dropped off. I got $5,000 for you." Bruh. When I hadn't had a paycheck in 6 months at that point and couldn't get a job even at Burger King, guess how good that $5,000 looked for me. But guess what my choice then was? I'm going to be riding up this road. I'm going to get stopped. They're going to find this package on me. I'm knowing now that that's the intent to distribute and sell. So now I'm 15 years gone and my kids lose out on me completely. That was the choice I made.
Consequences and repercussions. Farod did what he did. You know what Farod can always do? Farod can look at his son and say what he did to get his son back. There's nothing that can take that from Farod. Nothing. Farod could have stepped away and just been another statistic. Farod can look at anytime Farod's son decide he want to do something wrong now. Farod can sit there and tell him from first-hand experience, he did not let the system make him who he was. He made choices. As we like to say, he claimed his throne, as opposed to sitting around hollering he a king because he got a mustache, locks, and a penis. He put forth an action. See, every time I see we call each other kings and warriors, but we ain't doing shit. See, Farod can claim that now. Farod went out and got his. That's what kings do. That's what warriors do. They don't just sit back and say, "Oh, I got melanin. I'm a force to be reckoned with." Mondreka been married since the beginning of time. He went out and claimed his. He did what it takes to keep what he got going. I went to New York and got Trina, as opposed to sitting back and saying, oh, she up there, I'm going to just do something different. I brought her down here. So you got to put forth the action. I could have said what some of Trina's friends told her, why you want a girl from New York with all these women in Atlanta? And Lord knows there's a bunch of women in Atlanta. Hey, you can look at my timeline before Trina when I was taking pictures with different girls at the club every week. I could have been that dude that is the shit in the black man's world. That's not what I wanted.
I thought he was.
So to be able to sit back and hang with the Farods and Mondrekas and not have them look down on me because I got all these women, but I don't have anything that is tantamount to a queen. I got a harem or a concubine. I don't want to be like that. So we have to control that narrative. If you stay in the same spot and you keep looking for the same thing, you're going to keep running across these hooches. I got to move out of this mentality and move up. Farod went on and started getting his education. He went to school with no paper. Hey, and from that flourished a beautiful relationship. He was stealing paper in college. You had the wrong type of paper. So the wrong type is none. But this is why it's so important that we control this. This is why it's so important when I reach out to these brothers, I want them to come and tell their story. It ain't always a popular story, but it's a much needed story because it's so many of us who claim we don't know nobody. I'm fortunate. I know lots of people who've been married in double-digit years. And I know lots of people who look like me who've been married double-digit years. Mondreka, show flex and Farod. You see how you putting that glass on the thing, don't you?
Ooh, that thing, nice thing. Look at that.
But this is what we got to control. This is how we take over. This is when, we go back to Boosie and Dwayne Wade. I don't know what I would do if my son told me he thought he was a girl. But I know what I can't do. I cannot sit back and tell him he can't be whatever he feels. We're going to have a lot of discussions. Or we're going to have a shitload of discussion. But what I ain't going to do, and I'll use Marquise. When Marquise, put your hand down. When Marquise graduated, I told Marquise, if you graduate from high school and you get a scholarship, I will take you to the strip club. Not to no hooker spot. We went to the strip club because that's something that we do here. I want him to know how to act. So I had him around some of my friends who know how to act in strip clubs. So that, hey, even though this is what it is, there's certain things that you shouldn't be doing because you finna go to college where I think college is a strip club on steroids. That's my impression because I ain't never been. But I needed him to know how to act around women, even scantily clad women. Don't mean you can just go around grabbing on them or doing whatever. But that was my reward for him because I know what he was seeing. He's seeing all these wild girls. He's seeing all this other stuff. I'm fortunate enough to say that all of my sons who have children are married. I don't know where the hell they got that from. But hopefully they got it from me talking to them about what they should do.
Choice, though. Like,
yeah,
every day you wake up, you have the ability to make a choice to do what you make right based off of what you've learned. To go back to what Roy was saying, in my life, I didn't have those positive influences. Everything that I had that was influencing me was pulling me into the street. But what I credited myself for being able to do is recognizing that wasn't a life that I wanted. So I watched their mistakes and did the opposite. And it was a risk. And it was like, shit, if they did it this way and I do it the opposite way, then maybe it'll work out to my benefit. Now, granted, some of those decisions that I made didn't pan out that way. Clearly, having a child at 16, 17 years old wasn't, one of those decisions. But again, I woke up the next day knowing that I had a child on the way with a decision and a choice to make to be there. And I think that's what your kids did in seeing, they admire you. That doesn't change the fact that they look up to their father or they admire you, and you can tell that they have that adoration for you when they're with you, but they also wanted more, so they sought after more. And I think that's what, even in reading the comments, like, I'm seeing people say, stop this king and queen shit. For what? Like, that those are our titles. Those are our rights. We should be pushing each other to be kings and queens, but it is more than just being black and having a penis and being, I'm the melanin of this earth. No, it's more than that. It takes, a lot of responsibility, and it's not just to our own kids, but it's to, those that are around us too. It's not just the community. It's not just your kids in your house, but it's also the community of kids around you.
Right, and this is what we got to do, because when they talk to me, when my son started talking about his little girlfriend, you know what? That became a teachable moment. Hey, why you got all these girlfriends? These are the things that come from this. I'm gonna tell you, now make your own choices, because ain't nothing. There's no better lesson about that hot stove than touching it. I can keep telling you it's hot, but when you touch it, everything I said come into play. So I'm cool with, as far as I say, we gonna all make mistakes because none of us is perfect. But when you make a mistake, learn from it. Don't sit back and start blaming everybody else. When I was a boy, I blamed my failed marriages on my wife. As a man, I know now that all my failed marriages on me, regardless of the reason, because you can't claim that title, but you keep giving away responsibility. Oh, I'm a man, I do this, except for this time. I'm a man, except for this time. I got to accept that I made bad choices. Why I made them have to be on me. Well, she cheated. Well, that must have meant either I wasn't doing something right or I didn't pay attention. Either way, who was that on? Hold up. No. I'm gonna let you finish. Because at some point, Roy. No. Even though you're the producer, this still random thought. At some point, we have to take accountability for our decisions. If they come out to be wrong, we have to still admit we made them.
But D, hold up.
Well, except for Mondreka, you two, you started young. When we picked the wrong woman and we tried to make it work, at some point we should have realized that was the wrong woman for us. Instead of keep fighting and cheating.
Hold up. No, okay, so here, hold on. Let me jump into that, because that
don't take it personal.
No, you know.
I'm speaking in general.
I understand you're speaking in general, but this is the problem with that part of the philosophy. I'm agreeing with you for the most part, because everything is ultimately up to us to choose certain things. But this is just like the situation that women run into. Just because you could be doing everything right in a marriage, in a relationship. If somebody chooses to step outside of that, that is completely on them. That has nothing to do. If you could be the best husband ever, and your wife could look up and just be like, today, you know what? I want Jimmy cross the street. Just like men do. It's not on that. It's not always on that person. Now, what does become our choice and our responsibility is when and how long we allow it to go on, and how long we continue to stay in the situation. That's where your choice comes in. But we can't. This is part of the problem that we have in our community as it relates to relationships. There are just some, you know this, and you done said it before. It's just some badass people out there. It's some people who are liars. Some people, what did you call it? What's your favorite word? Predators. There are predator men and women. So just on that particular part of it, I just had to jump in on that, because like I said, that's touchy. Because you can't always say that it's you our
can,
fault.
Roy.
No, D, it's not.
Roy, when the plane,
if Trina go out and cheat on you,
Roy.
If Trina go out and cheat on you today, you can't. What is your responsibility in that? How is that on you?
I wasn't paying attention to the signals.
What signals?
I wasn't paying attention to the signals.
She woke up today and decided to go cheat. How was that on you? What did you?
Never happened like that.
She miss? Dude, yes it can. Even if you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, y'all sat down at the start of your relationship and said, this is what we're going to do. These are our roles that we want to have. And you're doing everything that y'all talked about. If she wants to cheat, D, she is going to cheat. It has nothing to do with you. If somebody wants to be unfaithful, they are going to be unfaithful. Man, woman, whatever. Whoever they married to, another man, another woman, I don't care. If somebody most people who cheat because they want to. They use excuses for why they cheat. Oh, my spouse wasn't doing this. Damn it, why didn't you talk to your spouse before you went out and cheated? People cheat because they want to. That has nothing, 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with the other partner. Now, I won't say 9. I'll say 7 out of 10. Because, yes, there are some people that may treat their spouse wrong, and their spouse goes out and seeks the comfort and affection that they need somewhere else. But when you talk about cheating now, and specifically cheating is what I'm talking about now. It's just like lying. People lie because they want to. You don't have to lie to nobody. You lie because you want to keep yourself in a better position.
You know why lies are so successful, Roy?
Because people want to hear the lies.
You know why cheaters are so successful? Because we want to believe. So as a leader, when somebody telling you something, Mondreka, do you fire people where you work at? Do you fire people?
No, actually, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay, so you got it made. But the reason we do things so because we want to believe something, which means we ignore the signals, Roy. I ain't gonna even put them on the spot.
That's a whole other show. I ain't gonna argue with you on that no more.
I don't know nobody who woke up and said, you know what I feel like doing today? I feel like cheating today. That's a process, Roy. And it's something that was going on that we didn't pay attention to, and that's on us. You can't be a leader and keep deflecting. Part of being
this is a different
part of being a man is accepting responsibility for your decisions.
We're not
when you
going to
touch
agree
that
on
hot
that.
stove, is it okay, Roy?
I got you.
When you touch the hot stove, is it the stove's fault for being hot, or is it your fault for touching it? Stoves do what stoves do, Roy. It's just like we shoot animals for biting people, even though we know they eat people. We can't keep blaming other people when all we had to do was make a better decision. Farod made a decision.
Dude, you were a predator.
Farod made a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. You know what he did? When he had a baby at 16, he found a way to make that decision be better. That was his choice. Even if she seduced him, he can't sit back and say he a grown man, do this and this, and then blame her for that.
He did, though. That's the thing. I didn't get into that story, but
but I'm just saying,
get into that story. It was, but again, my responsibility in that was putting myself in that position, and that's
all I'm saying.
Right.
Is at the end of the day, we still put ourselves. We can't keep sitting around looking for excuses. The only way you're gonna get better. See, I played sports. You know what? There were teams that I played against, and they were the better team. They were the better team. So you know what we had to do as a responsible? We had to become better. It was still our fault we was lost because we wasn't as prepared. We can sit back and say, "Oh yeah, they was just better than us." It sounds good, but is it the truth? So we can sit back and keep coming up with, oh, well, she did this, or he did that, or he did this. At some point, to become a better person, you got to accept all these defeats and see what you did wrong and make yourself better. Whether you do more tests for people before you let them in your circle.
But see, that's what did you just say, D? Think about what you just said, and I agree with you there. That's the point. It has to be if you are continually having the same situations happen to you, that's different than if somebody you're involved with comes up and does something. Because like you said, you've even talked about it, how you were a professional predator and you knew how to convince somebody that you were being honest to them. You knew how to convince people. That's what predators do.
No. I never said that. No, I ain't never.
No, you said you never. No. What did you say? You said
I
you
never lied to them.
I didn't say you lied.
I didn't have to convince them my honesty. I just had to tell them what they wanted to hear.
D, that's
girl who wanted to get married.
Girl wanted to get married.
I took her to the jewelry store. There was no lie told. I showed her what she wanted to see.
You're convincing again. You just proved my point. You're convincing them. I didn't say that you lied to people, because predators, most of the time, predators don't lie. They will tell you the truth, but they will tell, like you said, they will make you believe what you want to believe. That's what predators do. That's how you manipulate. They manipulate situations. The first time it happens. Hold on. Let me say this. The first time it happens, or wrong finger. The first time it happens, yes, it was that can be just somebody getting taken over by a predator. The second and third time it happens, you do need to take responsibility, because you should have been able. You should see the similarities and stuff from one predator to the next, because the predators all do the same thing. So yeah, that's where you have to take responsibility. But the first
if you don't take it the first time, you're not gonna know the second time, because you're still in denial.
Oh my God, D, come on, man.
What? You can't make me change my mind.
I can't be in denial of something that I don't know. No, I can't be in denial of what I don't know. I have to at the end of that first situation, yes, I have to take responsibility and say, okay, I see what D did. Or I'm gonna use, because I don't like using you. I'm gonna just go, since Area working with me. I see what Area did to me. I cannot now let Lee do that same thing to me. That's what I have to take responsibility of when I move forward with. It's called a lesson. I'm not going to take responsibility for the actions of the first person who openly deceived me in a way that I had never been deceived before. I'm not doing that. I'm not taking your fault. I'm not taking on and feeling guilty about your lies and your manipulation of me. I'm gonna take responsibility if I decided after you did that to me that I come back to you and I let you do it again. yeah, then I need to take responsibility. But you just, I mean, you made every point that I was talking about with that. But again, that's a whole different show.
Except for taking responsibility the first time.
No, right. That's the part
Not
we
the
disagree
third time.
on. That's the part we disagree on. But
if you don't,
that's a whole other show because I wanted to make my statement about Boosie and Dwayne Wade.
Right, and that's what we was talking about. Boosie was doing his thing, and we can't compare the two and say we're gonna pick which one is the lesser. If I ask Farod, would you rather take your son to a gay parade, or would you rather take him and have a hooker give him a blowjob in the back of the car? That ain't a fair thing, because neither one of them is gonna prove anything. Yeah. Other than he's just, you can't say, well, I'd rather do this than this. That's like saying I'd rather have a pretty girl than an ugly girl. You can't
you and that pretty girl.
Bad parenting is a subject unto themselves. Choices that you make dealing with your own kids is another thing. When you got kids, and I know Farod got athletic kids, what is pushing too far? And I don't think Farod pushed too far because I would have told him. But I've coached teams where I've seen parents push too hard because they're living through their kids. That is bad parenting. Some kids don't want to play sports, but if that's what you're pushing, that is bad parenting. That's being a master manipulator and an overseer. But if one of our kids decides that they think that they're gay, we have a responsibility as parents to check it out, look it up, get some research, and find out what's going on, because we do know that gay people exist. It may not be what we want to hear. It may not faze us one way or another, but part of being a father is not trying to make your kids be something that you feel good about.
Now let me jump in there, because this is the part about it. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a Dwayne Wade fan. I'm a Miami Heat fan. Dwayne Wade is I was working at. I've been a fan since day one. This is something, and I'm going to tell you why the difference, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say about Boosie first. What Boosie did was tantamount to pedophilia, and that's, he was wrong in every sense of the word of what he did with his son, because he's
what he did was illegal.
Right, it was illegal, so it is not a comparison. But I also said that I disagree with Dwayne Wade in this sense, because one of the problems that I have with our society, again, and this is the piece that nobody is talking about. Our children are over-sexualized, especially black children. Everything in the media that's pushed to them is about sexualization and sexualizing of a child. I don't give a damn what nobody say. And I hear what you're talking about. At 12 years old, at 10 years old, your child doesn't understand the reality of being homosexual, because they don't even understand damn sex at that point. Let me explain what I'm talking about when I say that. This is what we really have that happens in the society when we have this kind of stuff that comes up. What we do is that a little boy comes in and says, Daddy, I like fashion. Daddy, I like modeling. Daddy, I like doing this stuff with dolls. And the first thing that we do, man, put that damn doll down and go play some football. Man up, do some stuff. So we start taking activities that a child may be interested in, and because they are focused on girls or females or gender-based as a society, we now start telling these children, oh, you must be gay if you like doing this. Let me tell, because I know this personally. And this is one of the ways that my father and my mother stepped up and changed the way I look. I was always into fashion when I was younger. But the only dudes that actually was really modeling was all gay that we knew about. But they didn't sit down and say, oh, because Roy likes this, he must be gay. And that was my issue that I said with Dwayne Wade. And I don't know this man's household. But my question is, what conversations did you have? What makes a 12-year-old feel that he's gay? Or a 10-year-old kid feels that he is gay or identifies as a woman? Now, we talk about what we see. One of the things that people don't talk about is the fact that Dwayne Wade has a nanny who is now transgender. And that is the nanny that helped raise that son. So now they're emulating situations, because that's what children do. Children, and this goes back to a point that you made at the beginning of the show. They may be able to gravitate to a person because of the way that they react to that person, the way that that person listens to them, that's not like their parent. And then they start to emulate. Children emulate people they look up to. So you ask that question, because if my son comes to me and would have said something like that, my first question to him is like, well, what makes you think you gay? What do you know about sex? You know, I like girls. What I like boys. Well, wait a minute. What you know about sex? Let's have that conversation first at 10. What do you know? What is it that makes you think that? We have to stop assigning things to our children that make them feel uncomfortable because they like certain things. And we know, especially in the black community, that is huge. That is huge that it's always happened in the black community. We have to let our children be what they are, and that's children. We can't force adult mentalities and adult thought processes on children. That's like, I totally disagree with anybody that lets a child have a sex change operation. There is no way. I don't care what your child identifies as. I totally disagree with boys being able to compete with biological boys being able to compete with biological girls in school activities, because they are genetically different. I don't care what you identify as. That you can identify with what you want to, but when you start getting into those things, we have to ask the questions of what makes these children feel that way. And I guarantee you're going to get answers like, well, I saw so-and-so do this. I read this, or I was engaged in this because I like this, and the only other people I know that like this stuff are all gay people. And those are the challenges that we have with that. That's the issue, is we're over-sexualizing our children. A child should not be talking about that they feel that they're another gender at that young age, because we're over-sexualized. And that's the main thing I want to say about that. So, and Frank is right. It's usually rooted, those things are rooted in fear of different things. And a lot of fear, just like you said, that peer pressure and people being ostracized. Nobody wants to feel like they're being singled out in any kind of way. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That one is far left. We talking about Dwayne Wade's response to that. That's what we got to stick with, him being a father. As a father,
and I agree with him supporting his child.
What should his course be? And I don't remember him getting a sex change. I just remember them letting him be identified with that new name.
No, he didn't. I wasn't talking. That part wasn't about them specifically. I wasn't saying that's what Dwayne Wade did.
So, but that's what I'm saying. But that's why I didn't want to get into the whole split. I just want to get on about him being a father. What he did was, when your kid shows interest in something, what we normally do is we let them explore that option. If Mondreka's son starts saying he like being a mechanic, Mondreka gonna get him some tools. He gonna probably get him a little cheap car, let him do some oil changes and change some fan belts. Mondreka can't say, hey man, I want you to go into computer programming. He can think that that's what he want, but he can't push that narrative. He can introduce him to it so that we can have a different lifestyle, because you want to see different. Because if you don't know different, you can, when my kids say, hey, I want to be a cop, my first instinct is, no, you don't. And I start changing uniform downstairs because I didn't want them to see that. I don't want you to be this because you think, oh, Dad, yeah, fine, whatever. But no, you can't be a cop. When my son went to the Navy, I'm half and half on the military, because I believe it affords you a free chance to do some traveling and get some things. I totally believe in the military. I didn't fight my son who wanted to go in the military, but when he started talking about he wanted to play sports, see, I could have did what we lie and say, and I boost him, but I sent him to a baseball camp so he could see that he was uncoordinated. Cause his mom like, quit telling him. The boy got 3 left feet. Took him to the baseball camp. Ball hit him, and he ain't picked up a baseball glove since then. Cause there was no need of me trying to sit there and fight against what they were trying to do. Cause there's a point when you can't promote things that your kids aren't good at. That's why I don't like when kids can be whatever they want to be. No, they got to be whatever they're willing to work to be. Mondreka didn't get where he is just because he had to work and learn shit that had nothing to do with nothing else to get that promotion. For me to get where I wanted to be, I had to work and learn shit. Oh, you could be no, because there's certain things I can't be because I don't want to put in the work. Right, I can't do your job. Don't want to. So I could never be a show producer. It ain't happening. So we got to stick with the narrative as parents of letting our kid. My daughter now, she's like, I want to be a nurse. Well, okay, so I let her meet some nurses. I'm gonna let her arrange to go, have some little things with her. My other daughter is into makeup. I took her to a hair show with me so she can hang around some people, so she can get a little mentorship like that to see if it's what she truly wants to do. When it comes to other things, you got to make decisions accordingly. Because if one of my kids said, I think I'm gay, like I said, it's up to me to do research and for us to talk. But for me to have that conversation with them and start slapping them or beating them like they used to do in the old days, and we gonna talk about things, you can't beat the gayness out of somebody. Right. You can't pray it out of them. Hitting them with a Bible and holy water ain't gonna make it go away. At some point, we have to address it. It's not a reflection on us, and that's where our egos get in the way. Because as black men, we've been told that if our boys don't do this, it's on us. It ain't on us. Look at that. Is that the star of the show?
Yeah, that's it.
We gotta let them do what they want, but we can expose them to different things and see what they pick up on.
All right, let go.
See, and it goes back to even to the simplest of points that Mondreka, Farod, he left. At what point did we learn that it was okay for us to kiss our boys? Because we were hardened that maybe we'll give you a hug. That's it. And you know, as we got older, we saw that the things that were done to us, even though they worked for us, they weren't all right. The whoopings that some of us got are nothing. They're not tantamount to the whoopings that we see on TV now. We might have got hit 3 or 4 times. We remember getting them switches, but Mondreka, did you get whooping with switches?
I had to braid them up myself.
Did you get beat so bad that the skin broke? And you couldn't sit down for 3 or 4 weeks, and you had to be hospitalized.
It depended on what we did.
And in hindsight, we can see.
But I got a
Right, but and most of us got them, but we can see that some of the whoopings were tantamount to abuse. Now we can't pass on that same thing. Some of the whoopings we got made us rebellious. Because I'm gonna stick with the fact that if you gotta whoop your kid more than twice, the whoopings ain't working. They're becoming used to them, and we gotta adjust that mentality. Oh, that's what my mama did to me. And you think it's okay? Don't get me wrong. I do believe in corporal punishment, but no more than twice, because it's not working after that. We're teaching them that pain and violence is the way to overcome, and that's a subliminal message that we passing on. Even if we overcame it, we can see how other people are. And what we got to do a lot of times is I say things that don't even apply to me because I can't ignore what the masses are doing. I can't ignore that. I can't ignore, I know lots of people who've been married for 10, 15, 20 years, but I can't ignore that it's a bunch. I know for every friend I got that's been married 10 years, I know somebody else who got 3 kids by 3 different women. So I can't ignore that. Mondreka, a good dude. Farod, a good dude. But on the other side, so when I say certain things, they got to just take themselves out of the situation. Yeah. And that's what we got to do when we start getting into being a good father and being good men. Even though, Roy, you single, I'm single. But I'm not a hoe. Yeah, there was a point in time when I was as whorish as I could be.
Hey, I'm not a hoe either. Don't leave that hanging out there like that. You kind of put me out there.
So what now?
I said, hold up. Be careful how you do that. I'm not a hoe either, so make sure you say that.
No, I said I was. No, I was just saying me and you single, so we don't have the same responsibility as Mondreka and Farod.
Right.
But as I've gotten older and I'm becoming more intelligent and enlightened, and the ignorance has left me, I don't want to leave a trail of women behind just to prove anything, because it's not. It's just me not caring. So now I want to dedicate this to this to this. This is what we have to pass on to the kids, to the boys, to the girls. Hey, it's okay to make mistakes, but at some point you still got to hold yourself accountable. I ain't giving nobody a pass, even if you did it out of ignorance, out of whatever. It's okay. Know why you did it and learn from that. This is how we become better people. This is how we pick better jobs. Some people pick jobs for money. Other people pick them for benefits. These are decisions that you have to make. And when you say I didn't know, because black people hate to be called ignorant, but that's what it is. You didn't know, which is the definition of ignorance. So you did this out of ignorance. I ain't ignorant. We gotta teach people. We gotta teach our kids. We gotta teach each other what the word means. It ain't meant as an insult. Accept the fact that you didn't know certain things. Learn from that. We got to let our kids know it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. What was the mistake? How did you make that mistake? Well, I was listening to my friends. So what did you learn from that? I don't need to listen to my friend and go over that. That's part of parenting. If Dwayne Wade's kid learned that from being around a caretaker, what's the message that was learned? Mom and dad ain't spending enough time with child as they think they are, because if they were, that wouldn't have been it. So they got to accept that. Is it their fault that they hired the nanny? That's their fault too. It was a decision they made, but they got to look at the bigger picture and say, I should have spent more time. When Mondreka, and I use Mondreka because he's right there. When we were younger, we didn't have the same amount of time. When you're building your career, you spend a lot of time working. As you get older, you get to take some of that time back, but you missed a lot of the formative years. You missed them, and you try to get them back. Those are things we have to acknowledge. And is it a mistake? No. Do we regret some of it? Yeah. But we realize that the goal was here. It was a higher goal than right there. And that's why I say, and I'm going to get to you. For one of my daughters, I worked 12 hours a day just so I could be off 3 or 4 days at a time. I overworked myself because I wanted to go out of town with her. But I had to build up to that point where I could create my own schedule. When I couldn't create my own schedule, I had to miss a lot of things she did and hear about it. Go ahead, Mondreka.
Yeah, that's my point. It was, my baby was born in 2004, my oldest, and we were, I was trying to create a name for myself in corporate, and it got to the point. One day I was looking in a photo album at home, and she was I think she was 6 or 7 at the time, and I was like, she was 7. And I was like, asked my wife, I was like, when did y'all take these pictures? This picture, and she's like, oh, we went to Birmingham. Da 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 da. You had to work. Then it got to a point where I kept turning pages. And I went through a whole year, and I have probably 2 pictures with my little girl. And it was from age 6 to like almost 8. A whole year, I had 2 pictures in an album. And the only question I asked was, only answer or remark, she's like, you had to work. You had to work. You had to work. So from when she was born to she was like 7, it was almost like I was an absentee father, because I missed a lot of the stuff that she had going on, right? So then, like you said, I had to make a way or figure out what it was I needed to do on my side to free up some time so that I could be able to spend the time with my family, with my little girls that I needed to. Then my little boy came in 2009, but again, at that time, it was just it was tough for me to see that I had missed out on so much in my little girl's life,
Right.
So, like you said, man, we just sometimes priority in being a provider as a father takes precedent, and I think we have to find a happy medium.
Right, because there's a huge difference when we get into this from being from priority versus reality. Reality is I can't do some of these things in order for us to have this. Now you're upside down. Now you can't. Some things we can't do because, realistically speaking, it's not feasible with what we're trying to do. When we're getting to these better neighborhoods and these gated communities, which is where we want to be, we give up a little something, and it ain't always. Our kids come first, but we prioritize their living conditions versus us being present. And that's just one of the things that we do. And if we miss something, despite the thing, we have to look back at that and do the best we can in retrospect. But it don't change it. But this is where we have to step up, and we have to acknowledge, hey, his kids, he don't treat the same because they're different. Mentally, they're different in how they grew up. His son grew up with a sister. His sister grew up, for the longest, she was by herself. She had to adjust to a newcomer. He had to. So we have to make these changes because there's no set pattern. But what we have to do is make sure that we still leave the door open. If his daughter decides she want to be a kicker, he can't sit there and say football is for girls. He don't want to put out there in the middle of the field and have her playing D tackle, but he still got to introduce it, because what do we know? When we don't talk about something, that's what we gravitate toward more, because it's forbidden. It's easy. When my kid first showed interest in guns, I took them to the range. They didn't like the way it felt. Guess what? They didn't bother my guns no more But before every time they saw a gun, I saw the look in their eyes. Oh, you need to get a gun safe. All they're gonna do is keep looking till they. So I took them to the range. Kill that curiosity. They didn't like that kickback because it was nothing like they saw on TV. On TV, it's just bang, 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 and everybody having fun. When they shot the gun and bang, and it did like that, my son put that gun down, and he went back to his room. We got home, he went to his room and played. When he see a gun now, he just be like, "Hey, Dad, there go a gun. Is it? I ain't gonna touch it." But that's part of parenting. And when we get to this, I don't care what Boots' reason was. To justify under any circumstances, to me, it's still tantamount to child abuse. Because you're sitting there telling the 12-year-old that, one, you're paying women. And I don't know if he knew he paid, who cares? But it's, to me, if you're going to compare something, compare what he did to what T.I. did. You don't need to share everything that you do with your kids publicly. There's some things that are private. Mondreka don't need to go around telling people, and I'm just using you, Mondreka, because I know we cool. Mondreka don't need to go around saying that his son wasn't potty trained and he was 15. He don't need to make that public knowledge. That's embarrassing to the child. And now he got to live with that for a long time. And for whatever reason, there's certain things that as parents that don't need to be public. What Boosie did should never have been made public. What T.I. did should never have been made public. I get why Dwayne Wade did what he did, because if we're honest about it, LGBTQ, RSVW, they run a lot of shit. And they got to be acknowledged because they got tons of money. Would I have publicized that? I don't see the need in publicizing it. And that's where the parenting and the fatherhood come in, because sometimes we want kudos so much for people to say that we progressive, we this, we that. You know what Mondreka told me? He told me that his daughter's doing something like this. That's what he should be sharing. He don't need to be sharing, "Oh yeah, man, I went into a room and she had Playgirl magazine." See, that's something he don't need to be. That's something that you can say person to person, but that don't something he need to be putting on Facebook. He don't need to be, "Yeah, I beat my daughter because I went there, she had this." That's nobody's business. And that's where we are failing miserably, horribly as parents. We feel the need to publicize everything on social media to show people how great of parents we are, but we're not pushing the good stuff. I do get tired of seeing these graduation pictures from 2nd and 3rd and 4th grade. It's not that big a deal, people. They're supposed to get there. But I understand how they're producing their pride. And that's okay. If it makes you proud and it gives your kid an edge, that's fine. But we have to start acknowledging the new system. We can't say we live in the age of information, but we still held hostage by something 200 years ago, and that's what we're gonna let turn us. Mondreka he left Anniston for a reason. I left the hood for a reason. Farod left College Park for a reason, because we could have stayed there and bit into that same system. Because when Mondreka go home, I'm sure he still see some of the same people there. Some of the same knucklehead dudes doing the same shit. He don't mind going to visit them for 4 or 5 hours at a time that he got to wave bye to them. We have to let those go. That's part of becoming a man. That's part of becoming a father. Because you are supposed to want your kids to have a better life than you. You're supposed to want them to have access to things that you never had. You had your hand up, Mondreka. You and all your high-tech devices, you should have had a switch where you could cut your mute on and off. So, and we got kind of sidetracked, and I ain't gonna hold y'all too much on because it's 8:03. But the point is, when we get into these things, especially when it comes to fatherhood, as we get older and we know a little bit more, we have to pass on wisdom. We have to, more than passing on wisdom, we have to share our mistakes, so that the kids know it's okay to make certain mistakes. But you want them to be able to come and talk to you before they go out there and do something dumb and reckless, because they can't talk to you now because you're shunning them, or they scared you're going to shame them on social media. You have to let them know it's okay. It's okay to be different. Every kid ain't going to be a Rhodes Scholar. My little girl has a colostomy, not a colostomy bag. She G2 fed, so she doesn't eat by mouth. We can't keep pushing her that she'll never eat by mouth. She see everybody eating and she's like, why? Because she's not ready yet. So that's something we're training her for. But would I ever make a whole post about No. Even once she started and we in the process now, that's something I don't need to tell the whole media about. But what I will do is in the group that we in with people who got kids like that, I share that with them to show that there is success coming. But that's to a small group of people who share the same ailments. To just put it on social media, what's the purpose? Being a father is a personally proud moment. You know, if his son get a scholarship or he becomes somebody's friend, yeah, that's something you post and you let everybody know that you the shit. But everything he do wrong is not promotable, or he can't try to push himself up and say, yeah, I'm a great dad, look at my son, this is what he did. When our son get good grades, it's because they studied. They ain't have shit to do with us. Because we can lock them in a room and they can go to sleep. Or we can lock them in a room and they can study. But we set the boundaries for what that can happen. You know, I took my kids to Bankhead so they could see the other side. This is where I came from. This is what happens when you just keep you think the thug life is cool. I let one of my kids stay with one of my friends in Bankhead. Guess what? He didn't want to be a thug no more. He thought that was just TV make it look good. Not having AC is not a good look. Watching them big ass roaches is not a good look, but they don't show that on TV. They just show everybody having fun, having cookouts. They don't play the bullets going through at night. They don't play the screams and the sirens. We have a responsibility as fathers and as men to share these experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, so that the kids can make qualified decisions. And we got to know, like Mondreka said, sometimes if Mondreka's son wants to talk to me, as long as Mondreka know I ain't insane, you know, Mondreka got to say, yo, D, my son wants to just hang out with you for a minute and do some stuff. Is that all right? And we go from there. So that his son can pick up the same, especially we like-minded, he can pick it up from a different source. My son is in the Navy. I got 15 friend requests from Navy people. He's like, all my friends think you smart. They like what you be saying. And they be like, man, your dad's smart. And it's like, but you didn't see that. He's like, nah, I just thought you was just always fussing about stuff. And you was telling me stuff because that's what you wanted me to do. I don't care what you do. Just know here's some options. So now I got strange kids listening to me when my son won't. But he'll listen to them listen to me. How crazy is that?
That's the way it is.
How crazy
man.
is that? So with that being said, Lee, I'm gonna do it one more time because I still didn't see you put up your page. If y'all want some Afrocentric mask or whatever, check out Lee. She gonna put her page up. I keep forgetting it. I think it's Style 50s by June. If y'all need to take pictures, Farod is an expert photographer. He got Farod Photography. It's on Facebook. Mondreka, what is your little girl doing? Because I know you ain't got no business. Your girl got a business.
Hey man, my little girl has that. She has a tumbler business. She's making tumblers, cups, caps, t-shirts, whatever it is you're looking for. She actually personalizes them. Puts your face on it if you need to. If you got your meme, you got your Facebook meme you want to put on it, she put it on a cup for you.
And see,
all me boutique.
This is where I'm gonna put Mondreka on the spot. See, if he was a good dad, which clearly he ain't, his daughter would have a web page up or a Facebook page, so he's still slack right now. So, but
she's perfecting it. This is her business. She said she want to do it on her own.
Okay, but you know you're supposed to be on the board of directors, and as always, Farod, where you at? Show your glass, Farod. Mondreka got a glass. We working on Roy. These are made little things by Khalil. Go check our page out. You know, he got his. I'm upset because I tried to keep yours. Farod got his for his wife Courtney. See the different styles. He got the wine glass because his wife she in recovery right now just because she's pregnant. So and the last thing I want to say is this, Farod, while I got you here, with this COVID-19, what we have to do, pay more attention to, and this directly affects Farod because it affects how he parents now. Because are they gonna let you go to the waiting room are they gonna let you go in the hospital when she get ready to have the baby, Farod?
Yeah, I'll be allowed inside of the delivery room, but as for right now, I can't go to her appointments, her monthly appointments.
And see, and this is one of those things that unintended consequences. A lot of people are pregnant, and the women are not getting that same support. So as men, we got to step up a little bit more. Oh, Lee, next time I have you on so you can show your cup too. We got to step up a little bit more and realize some of the unintended consequences. One of the things I want us to do as men is reach out more, because right now a lot of people are suffering from depression because whether we accept it or not, no matter how antisocial we are, we all need a little human contact. Even if we don't do nothing but ignore the humans that we see, we like having them there so we can ignore them. When you in the house by yourself, you don't have nobody to ignore, because you ain't around nobody. So keep that in mind. We're gonna press on. Farod got plenty of food there. I'm going over his house. So in closing, Mondreka, you got any last words you want to get out?
No, man, I just appreciate you guys for bringing me on to the show and hearing my perspective. Love the content. I've been a follower. We've been rocking since 2004, man. Farod, I'm gonna look your page up. Roy, great to meet you. I just really appreciate you guys considering me for the shot. I mean, to have a conversation with.
And Farod, Mondreka, we're gonna create a dating game show. We're gonna have married couples and see how that work. No, it's gonna be yeah. We're gonna see who know. We're gonna see who know who better.
Right, bro, stop. Yeah, don't even say that. She just run come down the stairs and hear that.
I already told you, y'all gonna be on the show because I'm gonna start doing my black love. Farod, them already know. You know, if he swore he was through getting her pregnant, but then he got her pregnant just so they wouldn't have to be on the show. So I know he had an ulterior motive. But I got this.
I can't say no.
You know what I'm saying? See, you got to take responsibility. Farod be getting her wine and getting her glasses. But yeah, so Farod, come on back right here, right quick, sir. Is that mayonnaise he got? I'm trying to get him to shout out his business. He came back with some mayo. Tell him about your photography business.
And that pregnant woman I'm cooking for, man.
Okay. Oh yeah, cause they gotta eat.
They gotta eat, man.
All right, tell them real quick about your photography business.
I appreciate y'all having me on, man. As always, I love chopping it up with y'all. You know, Darren's like an extended uncle to me, but I value his opinions and his views on pretty much everything. We go back and forth and battle about everything, but long story short, we family, and I love you to death, man. I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Always.
So, you know, I'm a photographer. I've been doing photography for about 10 years now. I started in college at Savannah State. Me and my couple of my frat brothers, A5A, Roy, you wouldn't know nothing about that, but you know,
you're right.
But been doing it for about 10 years now. I specialize in sports photography and portrait photography, but I shoot any and everything. So that's my business, man. I posted it in the comment section, so if anybody have any questions, let me know. I am currently not taking clients because I have a pregnant wife with one kidney who is under a kind of a strict regimen right now. So, but as soon as this thing is over, man, we're able to get back outside. Business will resume as usual. So I appreciate y'all.
Did you use the bath bomb yet?
Yeah, she did. She's used 2 of them so far.
Oh, you didn't use it?
I had to hurry up and get the pictures, man, because she bust that basket open so quick.
D-Bell, my mama said she wants some more.
Yeah,
you caused a problem. My mom ain't getting no bath, but she was like, "What is this thing like an Alka-Seltzer in my tub?"
Hey, and then when
them every week, what's going on? You done caused a problem.
Hey, when that oil hit her skin, she was like, "Ooh." Hey, now before we leave, I'm gonna call out Mondreka, cause Mondreka cheated the system. Mondreka called me instead of going through the play. He said, "Hey, man, I know they last minute, bro, but you know, I always got you." Cause he worked for, I've been dealing with him on the business level for like 20 years. But he called me, I say, "Babe, he gonna need this in the morning." She like, "He want me to get up?" He said, "Why he ain't send me a message?" I said, "Cause he trying to use his executive privileges." So he gonna backdoor you because he needs something cause he leaving town. Hey man, you know I ain't letting you get away that easy. But
Roy, public forum, man, don't tell how many people watching this.
Hey man, as long as they mind, I get my commission. So Roy, tell them about my JBN.
I'm gonna want to pay you next time.
Hey, man, don't make me send them other people after you. If y'all interested in doing the show on my JBN or advertising, if you got something, get at me. If you want me to advertise your product, see what I need you to do is I need you to send me something so I can talk about how good it is. Now, if you want to run a commercial, you talk to my JBN and Roy. Roy will run commercials and ads. We don't have to verify your product, but if you want me to give a pitch for it, I need to try it. So that's the business. So Roy, tell them a little something about you and my JBN.
All right, well, I'm going to be quick because this is we getting it usual. But first, I want to say, Farod, just to let you know, man, I actually thought about pledging Alpha for like 15 minutes, and then I came to my senses. And I did a show with a bunch of your frat brothers yesterday who've come on board onto the network. So, you know, like Darren said and like the brothers have been talking about, our whole purpose
Everybody can't be no alpha, Roy.
You're right. We understand that. We had to let some of y'all be special Jerry's kids, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. You know that what Mondreka was talking about, what Ernest mentioned, it is really the entire mission of the Jericho Broadcast Networks is to change the world by changing how we as black people see ourselves. Because what we have to stop doing is we have to stop looking at the same images and expecting our children to do something different. We have to give them the type of images that we want them to see, that we want them to emulate. And so, you know, to that end, we've got so many things that are going on here at the network. You know, besides shows like this that Darren does, we've got a bunch of stuff. I actually put the links for the apps in the comments. You can download our app. You can get us on the Google Play Store right now. We'll be back in the Apple Play Store by the end of the month. But you can go to also the other link that I put up, the myjbn.com/app, and it will take you to where you can download it for your Android or Apple devices as well. You actually can go and see some of Dee's original shows when we were doing the live broadcast out at Mango's and a whole bunch of other stuff, so that you can check those out. But you know, we're here to change the world, and we need to continue to have these kind of conversations, as Dee mentions. Like I like to say, we have to start having uncomfortable conversations because we've been too politically correct in a lot of stuff. You know, we've got to make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, because that is the one area that me and Dee definitely completely agree on, is that ultimately there is the only excuse for where we are is our choice to stay there. And so we have to do the things differently and change our community from within. We can't expect other people to do something different, you know, and to make it plain, I say you can't expect McDonald's to sell you Whoppers if you keep buying Big Macs. That's what we're doing. So we've got to do what we want to do, and we've got to change the images ourselves and put them out there for people, and make it happen. So yeah, if you got something you want to say to the world, let us know. We get you on, we get you out there, we advertise your product. We're big supporters of black-owned businesses and all that good stuff.
And this is DVP, of course. I got a show planned. I'm actually doing a show on some transgenders and homosexuality, just so we can know what's going on. We got to quit using the streets to educate us when we got people. I'm gonna have couples on here because I want y'all to understand and see black love in reality. I talk to them. They're gonna tell you some of the pitfalls. They ain't gonna tell you what they went through, but they're gonna tell you it ain't always easy. It's a struggle. I don't know nobody who been married who can look at me and said they've never thought about divorce or leaving. But most time it's only a 5 or 10 minute thought, and then they go head on. So I want y'all to understand that just because you have struggles don't mean the relationship ain't gonna work. So we're gonna have these conversations, as Roy like to call them, uncomfortable conversations. We're gonna keep pushing the narrative. Understand, being pro-black don't mean I'm anti-white. It's just that I am pro-black. I ain't got nothing against white people or no other race. I'm pro-black. Anytime I get a chance to push it and it's positive, I am. Anytime I come down on them, it's the same thing. If I see a predator amongst us who's preying on us, I'm gonna call them out just as well, because I'm more concerned about my people than anybody else right now. It's my people, then it's other people. But I don't disparage anybody. So I'm gonna give you as much content. I'm gonna state my points and understand this. I understand some of my points only work for me, which is why I like for y'all to have different voices. So with that being said, it's 8:20. That to make up for the 3 minutes late that we started. I want to thank all my guests. Farod, who is local. Mondreka, I can't tell y'all what he do because he part of the mafia. Roy, super producer, and me, just a guy who sit in front of a red wall. I will see y'all in 6 days and 22 hours and some, or 23 hours, 22 hours and some change, something like that. Who knows? All right. So until then, I appreciate y'all. Little Things by Khalil. Peace, popcorn, and chicken grease. We out.